What's going on YouTube? Brian Matthews here with another episode of Southern Pine Outdoors, and today I'm going to show you how to do a food plot, may I say, very small food plot by hand. I know that sounds crazy. I don't personally own a tractor, but I do have some hand tools, and I'm going to do kind of a spring food plot, just trying to get some of the deer to come around and see exactly what I've got on this piece of property that we just purchased not too long ago. So if that interests you, like I say, deer hunting, outdoors, pickup trucks, garages, shops, things like that, like and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to have you here. And also comment down below as to what we can do to better our videos, but also educate each other, because that's what this YouTube channel is all about. So like I say, I'm gonna load this thing up with some hand tools and kind of go over what we're doing. So let me load the pickup truck real quick and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about as far as the equipment, the type of seed I've got, and the fertilizer. So stay tuned and let's get this thing loaded. When working with products like fertilizer, you always want to make sure you have a good pair of gloves on, even though you're supposed to wash your hands even afterwards. Like I say, just trying to minimize the hand-to-eye contact or hand-to-mouth contact with that fertilizer. Probably not a good idea to use your bare hands. So if you have a good pair of leather gloves or some rubber gloves of that matter, that's what I would recommend using. Also, if you want to use eye protection, like I say, I've been doing this for a while as far as making food plots and things like that and working with chemicals. So not to say that I shouldn't be wearing eye protection, but today sunglasses will just have to do. I guess that's a form of eye protection. So like I say, gloves. So. Also, in the previous video, maybe, I don't know, one of these other videos, I mentioned about this little cart here. Like I say, I put the gas cans, fertilizers, maybe that's not a good idea, but seeds, any kind of heavy bag that is going to stick around the shop for a while. I tend to put it on this cart just because it makes it a whole lot easier to be able to pull around in the shop and pull up to a vehicle, unload what you need, and then push it back. Or pull it out of the way so that you can move on to your project without having to strain yourself any more than you really need to. So like I say, if you don't have a cart and you've got a real big shop, you may want to invest in one. Sometimes people have those kind of dolly carts with the little handles on the ends, and they've got the different levels, and they're hard plastic that you might see, or even metal. But I prefer this because I can take the sides off and stick some wider pieces of things on there, like a cooler or something. So like I say, just a quick tip, you may want to get you a roll cart that will help you out around your shop. So like I say, just wanted to kind of go over some of the things that I'm using. I may pick up the camera to kind of show you a closer view of what we're using, but to kind of go over everything, like I said before, you want to start out with a good pair of gloves to do any kind of outdoor yard work or anything like that. Like I say, they'll save your hand in the long run. The first thing we're going to do when we get out there, like I say, it's going to be a very small food plot, maybe a little bit bigger than maybe about 2 of these pickup truck beds as far as wide and length. So very, very small food plot. First thing you're going to want to do is get you a hoe. Like I say, this is a very inexpensive version. It's a Craftsman hoe that the wife actually picked up just the other day at Lowe's for me. We were planting some grass seed and everything like that. So around the house, and like I say, we don't have a tiller, we don't have a tractor, so we're doing a lot of this by hand. So it's very easy. I won't say easy, but don't have to mess with a whole bunch of different things. Manual labor is not the easy part, but like I say, you're not having to do this and do that to make the thing work. Plus also working in tight spaces around the corners of the houses and things like that. This is where it's at. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna basically kind of break up the ground, till it up, you know, try to get it as fine as possible. So think of it like kind of like sand. So you're taking these big clumps of dirt, and here in the South we have a lot of that. We have a lot of red clay. So you just want to try to break the ground up as much as you possibly can. Make it as soft as you can, so that when you throw that seed out there, it has something to actually make contact with and will actually bury itself. So the next thing you're going to do is kind of say the same concept. Use the hard rake to be able to break the ground up a little bit more, kind of break up your clumps and then smooth it out. You don't want a real bumpy area, or if the hoe went too deep, you want to try to smooth it out as best you can. And then what I do is I typically use the teeth and then kind of scratch the ground to make your actual kind of, I don't want to say rows, but to kind of give you more of a surface to be able for the seeds to be able to kind of fall into is more or less. So the brand of seed that I use is something that can be bought pretty much anywhere. Cabela's has it, Bass Pro Shop has it, Academy has it. So I'm lucky enough to live where we have a Cabela's and a Bass Pro Shop and obviously an Academy within a fairly close distance. So I tend to try to buy my stuff in store unless there's something specific that I just know I have to have. This right here is the Evolve Harvest Throw and Grow. Like I say, just picked it up. It says no tilling required. This is kind of that kind of situation. I've used their brand before for a fall crop and never used it for a winter crop. But what I love about this particular brand is that they actually tell you what's inside the bag and then give you a little chart map type deal telling you when to actually plant it. So this one here can actually be planted in the fall or in the spring. The type of crops that are in this particular seed are radishes, clover, ryegrass, and then just a whole bunch of other kind of foraging crops in there. So we live here in the South, so the time to plant in the spring is from March to mid-April. It is currently April 5th, so we're kind of in the middle, towards the tail end of things. For fall in this particular area, we're kind of mid-September to October. So like I say, that chart right there and then these descriptions down here will help you out tremendously. And I'm just gonna leave that up there just for a second so that y'all can see that. And then this is this type of brand, that Throw and Grow Extreme with radish. So like I say, we're gonna try it out. It says it covers 11,000 square feet. So that's a pretty substantial amount of coverage. That's actually a quarter acre. So we're doing pretty good as far as the seed and everything. The next thing that we're going to want to look at is your fertilizer. To be honest with you, I don't know a lot about fertilizer. This one here is a 14-28-10 fertilizer. At our previous house, we had a little bit left over, and this is what this is. We used it for when we planted grass in the backyard there. With that situation, we did have a small tiller, but that ground was already so soft that, I mean, that tiller, you know, you basically just stick it in the ground and it was going to tear it up. So, like I say, this one's a 14-28-10. It might be a little bit strong for this particular seed, so I hope I don't burn it up. So I'll probably just throw a light coating over it. But like I say, these are the four main things that you'll probably need. Like I say, you may need a pickaxe if you hit a certain section where it's just extremely hard, or you got to remove a rock or something. You may need a shovel. Excuse me. So like I say, let me get the rest of this stuff put in to the truck, get it closed up, and we'll show you where exactly this food plot's going. All right, guys, just to kind of give y'all an overview of exactly what we're doing with planting the food plot and everything. got the house is behind me. I know y'all can't see it with my big old head, but we're getting ready to enter in the field. We're kind of halfway between the field and what I'm gonna call the backyard. So just kind of thought I'd stop right here and let y'all see exactly what we're talking about. So you can see I took down the gate, obviously, so I could get in here a little bit better. But we got this kind of ridge that goes up, and then on the back side of that ridge, just right there, it kind of drops back down into a valley where there's a little, I don't want to say a creek bottom, but just like a real low spot that's kind of soft and everything. I walked down through there, and the deer love that area down there. So what I had planned on doing is kind of putting a food plot right about there between those two trees up there. And then I know you probably can't see it, there's a third tree right behind it that looked like a great spot for a ground blind. So like I say, we're trying to set it up for filming and all of that. And then kind of where that little bucket is right there, the game camera is just behind there, so it's up on one of those trees up there, right about there where my finger is. So like I say, we may adjust that camera as time comes on and what we actually see and everything. So like I say, just wanted to try to give y'all an overview of exactly where we're headed with the food plot. Why I'm headed that way is what I'm trying to do is get the deer to come out, feel comfortable. Since it is early spring, deer season doesn't start till September around here, so we got some time to get them acclimated with us being here, being new to the property and everything, and trying to see exactly what we have out here. I have seen several different herds at different times of the night in different areas of the property. So like I say, we're just trying to see exactly what we got. But like I say, let's move on, keep going towards this food plot, and I promise we'll plant it here in just a second. So as you can see, we got these two trees here, and then we've got this other one, this third one right here, that's kind of got like this little pocket in here. That's where I plan on putting that ground blind. And then as you come back here, you'll see the ridge line that I was talking about, and you can see how it kind of drops off on the back side at a slight angle. Nothing too terrible. You can walk up it pretty easily. But this is kind of the area I was talking about putting that food plot. So just kind of where all this bare ground is in between all these three trees, leaving me enough room to obviously be able to drive around the truck or with the truck around here, or with the UTV and everything. So plan on planting it, just like I say, in the middle of these three trees here. I'm gonna get out of this jacket first. As you can see, this is not an easy task, but like I say, that section of ground right there is actually fairly soft with all the rocks and everything that we have up on this ridge. But like I say, it's not an easy task. It can be done. It's just going to take some time. So everybody, just to give you a recap of what's going on, as you can see behind me, got a fairly large section done. I actually had to revert to the rake. I'm gonna take these sunglasses off. I had to revert to the rake because of all the grass clippings and the brush that was actually out here that I didn't really take into account. So the thatch and everything like that was kind of slowing the whole process down. In this area right here, I actually used the rake instead of the hoe to scratch the ground and everything like that. Over here, you can kind of see the hoe section here did a little bit better as far as actually breaking up the ground, and gave me a lot more topsoil to kind of work with and break up with the rake. But was just taking too much time and too much effort. So I wound up using the hard rake for the majority of the process, but just wanted to give y'all a recap and let y'all get an update. Just to kind of give y'all an idea what the seed actually looks like. See if I can get a good camera shot for you guys. So you got your actual grass seed, and you got some other stuff in there as well. Like I say, it's your typical grass seed and everything. Like I say, it's just got a few other little seeds in there. Not sure what the yellow ones are. Maybe somebody can educate me on that. I know that the brown that you see there, that light brown right there, is actually that ryegrass. So like I say, we're going to toss this out real quick and get going with it. For this, you don't necessarily have to have the gloves because there's no fertilizer or anything in there, but when I do get to the fertilizer, I will use gloves for that. So basically all I'm going to do is just grab a handful and just sling it out by hand. I know that's not as effective of coverage as a spreader, but since we don't have one, or you don't want to take one into the woods, this is a good option. To be honest with you, I think I did pretty good on the size of the food plot. It said it covered about a 1/4 acre. I don't know if this is exactly a 1/4 acre, but I got a pretty good coverage as far as the actual seed and everything. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the fertilizer, do the same exact thing that you just saw, hand spread it out, and then what we'll do is we'll just walk on top of it, use the rake or the hoe to kind of pack it down, and then we'll be done and we'll be out of here. I feel like that'll do pretty good. Like I say, I don't want to put too much out there. I'm not sure exactly the strength of that fertilizer, but like I say, what we'll do now is we'll kind of rake that fertilizer and those seeds back in and kind of smooth it out and get some of those patches where you saw where I was dumping a lot of it out by accident just because we're doing it by hand. So we're going to smooth those out, and like I say, we'll be done. Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a recap of the food plot video. Sorry, my battery died and I couldn't really wrap it up out in the field. Had to come back to the shop here and charge the camera. So just wanted to give you a recap of what we did. We basically just went out there. I attempted to use the hoe to break the ground up, but that was kind of taking too long, and it was doing it correctly, but it was just taking too much time, and I just wanted to kind of wrap it up and make the video as quick as possible. So what I did is I wound up just using the hard rake that I've got, raked all the thatch out of that grass, that old grass that's out there, and removed a lot of the rocks and the pine needles and things like that from those surrounding trees, and just went back again with the rake and scraped the ground real hard, just to give me about 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick of topsoil that was real loose. In certain areas I couldn't do it as effectively because there was too much grass, and like I say, I could have used a hoe to get that grass out of there, but like I say, I just wanted to do something real quick and just see what happens. After that, and got all that cleaned up and scratched, I threw the seed out. Just did it by hand, and so the coverage may have not been as effective as an actual spreader, but just did the best I could with what I've got, which is very little. So that, if that kind of, like I say, that may be your situation where you don't want to take all this equipment out there in the middle of a field just to do a small food plot like I was doing. The next thing that I did was grab the fertilizer that you see behind us, and did that also by hand, just throwing it out, tossing it out. And then after all of that was spread out pretty evenly, I went back with the back side of that hard rake and you can see the back side of that hard rake is just a straight line like you see, and just kind of scraped it as the video shows. So like I say, once you do that, you can kind of cover it and walk on it and things like that to kind of pack that seed and that fertilizer into the ground, like I say, about an inch and a half deep, to allow that seed to germinate and get a lot of moisture and everything. Check the weather forecast. It's supposed to rain tomorrow and Monday. Today's a full day of sunshine. So hopefully that moisture in the ground from yesterday's rain will keep that seed nice and moist, and tomorrow's rain and the next day's rain will really help germinate that seed, and the fertilizer will kick in and really make that food plot grow. So like I say, hopefully this video was helpful for you. I apologize if it was a little long, but just wanted to really give you an in-depth look as to how to do a food plot without having a tiller, without having the farm equipment and all of that, and just some regular old sweat equity and some hand tools. So it can be done. It does take a lot more time and patience to do that, but like I say, hopefully the outcome for this food plot will be tremendous. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Comment down below if you have any tips or tricks to help me out or help someone else out. We'd love to hear from you. And I plan on doing a weekly update every Saturday from here on out to just show you the growth of that food plot, or hopefully, you know, like I say, the growth, but it may be a complete failure. But like I say, like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate y'all, and we'll catch you on the next one.